Marcus Johnson walked through the wide hallways of Riverside Mall on a Saturday afternoon. The 17-year-old wore khaki pants and a blue polo shirt. He carried a shopping bag from the clothing store downstairs. Inside the bag was a new shirt he had just bought with money from his job at the mall food court. Marcus had been working at the food court for 8 months. He saved most of his money for college. In just a few months, he would start his first year at State University. Today was his day off, and he wanted to look at laptops. He needed one for college, and he had been saving for months. The electronics store was busy. Families walked around looking at tablets and phones. A few teenagers played video games on the display consoles. An older man asked a sales clerk about cameras. Marcus walked slowly toward the laptop section in the back of the store. He stopped in front of a display with 6 different laptops. Each one had a small card that showed the price and features. Marcus picked up the card for a silver laptop. It cost $900. He had saved $700 so far. Maybe in another month he could afford it. Marcus opened the laptop and pressed the power button. The screen came to life. He typed a few words on the keyboard to test it. The keys felt good under his fingers. He smiled a little. This would be perfect for his classes. Across the store, Officer Derek Hollis stood near the entrance. He wore his police uniform. His hand rested on his belt near his radio. Hollis worked for the Riverside Police Department. He had been a police officer for 10 years. Hollis watched Marcus for a minute. Then another minute. His eyes never left the teenage boy who was looking at laptops. Hollis started walking toward Marcus. His boots made heavy sounds on the store floor. Marcus did not notice the officer at first. He was reading about the laptop's features on the small card. He wanted to make sure he was buying the right one. College was expensive, and he needed to make good choices with his money. "What are you doing here?" a voice said behind him. Marcus turned around. Officer Hollis stood very close to him. Too close. Marcus could see the name tag on his uniform. He could see the lines around the officer's eyes. "I'm shopping," Marcus said. He felt confused. Why was a police officer asking him this question? He had done nothing wrong. "Shopping for what?" Hollis asked. His voice was not friendly. His eyes looked hard and suspicious. "For a laptop," Marcus said. He pointed at the display in front of him. "I need one for college. What's in the bag?" Hollis asked. He pointed at the shopping bag Marcus held in his left hand. Marcus looked down at his bag. "A shirt. I bought it from the store downstairs about 20 minutes ago." "Let me see the receipt," Hollis said. It was not a question. It was an order. Marcus felt something uncomfortable in his stomach. He had done nothing wrong, but this officer was treating him like a criminal. Still, he did not want any trouble. He reached into the shopping bag and pulled out the receipt. He handed it to Officer Hollis. Hollis looked at the receipt for a long time. Too long. The receipt clearly showed that Marcus had bought a shirt 23 minutes ago. Everything was normal. Everything was legal. But Hollis kept looking at it as if he expected to find something wrong. Finally, Hollis handed the receipt back. "You've been standing here for a while," he said. "Just looking at these expensive computers. That seems suspicious to me." Marcus felt his heart beat faster. "Suspicious? I'm just shopping. People look at things before they buy them. That's normal." "Don't get smart with me," Hollis said. His voice got louder. "I think you're casing these laptops. Planning to steal one." Marcus felt shock run through his body. Steal? He had never stolen anything in his life. He worked hard for his money. He saved every dollar. How could this officer accuse him of planning to steal? "Sir, I work here at the mall," Marcus said. He tried to keep his voice calm and respectful. "I work at the food court. I'm saving money to buy a laptop for college. I'm not planning to steal anything." A few other shoppers started to notice what was happening. An older white woman with gray hair stopped pushing her shopping cart. She stood about 10 feet away watching. A young couple whispered to each other and pointed. The assistant manager of the electronics store, a man named Brian Chen, walked over. He looked nervous. He was not sure if he should say something or stay quiet. "Is there a problem here?" Brian asked quietly. Officer Hollis turned to look at him. "This is a police matter. Stay out of it." Brian opened his mouth to say something else, then closed it. He took a step back but did not walk away. He continued to watch. Hollis turned back to Marcus. "I need to see your ID right now." Marcus felt anger mixed with his fear.
"Why? What did I do wrong?"
Am I being detained or am I free to go? These were questions Marcus's father had taught him to ask. His father, Thomas Johnson, was a community organizer. He had sat Marcus down years ago and explained his rights. He told Marcus that police could not stop someone without a good reason. He told Marcus to stay calm, be respectful, but know his rights. The question seemed to make Officer Hollis very angry. His face got red. You're acting suspicious and aggressive. That's what you're doing wrong. More people stopped to watch now. A man in a business suit pulled out his phone. A teenage girl nudged her friend and pointed. Soon about 10 people stood around watching the interaction. Marcus looked around at all the faces. He felt embarrassed. He felt scared. He had done nothing wrong, but here he was being accused in front of all these strangers. Some of them probably thought he was a criminal. Some of them probably thought he deserved this treatment. I'm not being aggressive, Marcus said. His voice shook a little. I'm just shopping. I showed you my receipt. I told you I work here. I don't understand what the problem is. Officer Hollis stepped even closer. Now he was only about a foot away from Marcus. Marcus could smell coffee on his breath. The problem is your attitude. The problem is you asking questions instead of doing what you're told. I'm a police officer, and when I tell you to do something, you do it. But I have rights, Marcus said. His voice was quieter now, but still clear. I know my rights. Your rights? Hollis laughed, but it was not a nice laugh. Let me tell you about your rights. Right now you're acting suspicious in a store with expensive merchandise. That gives me the right to investigate. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Show me your ID. Marcus felt trapped. If he refused, what would happen? Would the officer arrest him? Would he use force? Marcus had seen videos online. He knew what could happen to young black men who had interactions with police. He thought about his mother waiting for him at home. He thought about his little brother. He thought about college, but he also thought about his dignity. He thought about justice. He thought about the fact that he had done absolutely nothing wrong. A woman's voice cut through the tension. Excuse me, officer. Everyone turned to look. A black woman in her 40s stood a few feet away. She wore a business suit and held her phone up, pointing it at Officer Hollis and Marcus. Her teenage daughter stood next to her, also recording. My name is Sandra Williams and I'm an attorney, the woman said. Her voice was calm but strong. I've been watching this entire interaction and I'm recording it. This young man has done nothing wrong. He's been polite and respectful. He's broken no laws. What is your reasonable suspicion for this stop? Officer Hollis glared at her. This is none of your business. Put that phone away. Actually, it is my business, Sandra said, and recording police officers in public is completely legal. I suggest you answer my question. What is your reasonable suspicion? Other people started pulling out their phones too. Suddenly 5 or 6 phones were recording the scene. Marcus felt a tiny bit of relief. At least if something bad happened, there would be evidence. Officer Hollis's face got even redder. He looked at all the cameras. He looked at the growing crowd. He looked at Sandra Williams, who stood there calmly with her lawyer's confidence. Then he looked back at Marcus. He was acting suspicious, Hollis said, but his voice had less confidence now. How? Sandra asked. By shopping? By looking at laptops? Please explain what suspicious behavior you observed. Hollis did not answer her question. Instead, he turned back to Marcus. I'm going to need you to come with me. We're going to have a conversation at mall security. Am I under arrest? Marcus asked. Not yet, Hollis said. But if you don't cooperate, you will be. Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket. Hollis's hand moved quickly to his belt. What's that? Show me your hands. It's just my phone, Marcus said quickly. His hands went up. Just my phone. Someone is texting me. Take it out slowly, Hollis ordered. Very slowly. Marcus reached into his pocket carefully. He pulled out his phone. The text was from his mother asking when he would be home for dinner. Such a normal question. Such a normal day. How had it turned into this nightmare? Let me see that phone, Hollis said. No, Marcus said quietly. You have no right to search my phone. That was when Officer Hollis grabbed Marcus's arm. Officer Hollis's hand gripped Marcus's arm tightly. Marcus felt the pressure on his skin. He did not pull away. He did not resist. But he spoke clearly so everyone could hear. I am not resisting. I am cooperating. Everyone can see that I am not resisting. Sandra Williams stepped closer, still recording. Officer, on what grounds are you detaining this young man? He has committed no crime. He has shown you his receipt. He has been nothing but polite. Step back, ma'am, Hollis said. His voice was angry now. This is official police business. This is racial profiling, Sandra said. And I am documenting it. More people gathered around. The crowd had grown to about 20 people now. Some looked shocked. Some looked angry. Some looked sad, as if they had seen this kind of thing before. An older black man in the crowd spoke up. Officer, let the boy go. He ain't done nothing wrong. We all can see that. A white woman with a small child said, This is terrible. Someone should call his parents. I will, Sandra said. She looked at Marcus. What's your mother's phone number, honey? Marcus told her the number. His voice cracked a little. He felt tears starting to form in his eyes, but he blinked them back. He did not want to cry in front of all these people. He did not want to look weak, but inside he felt terrified. He had heard the stories. He had seen the news. He knew what happened to young black men in situations like this. His father had warned him. His mother had warned him. They told him to be careful, to be respectful, to survive. Yet here he was, doing everything right, and it still was not enough. Brian Chen, the assistant manager, found his courage again. He stepped forward and spoke in a louder voice this time. Officer Hollis, this young man works here at the mall. His name is Marcus Johnson. He works at the food court. I've seen him there many times. He's a good kid. He hasn't done anything wrong in my store. He was just looking at laptops like any other customer. Officer Hollis barely looked at Brian. I told you to stay out of this. A mall security guard arrived, pushing through the crowd. His name was Carlos Rodriguez. Carlos was 50 years old and had worked at Riverside Mall for 15 years. He knew almost everyone who worked there. He definitely knew Marcus. What's going on here? Carlos asked. Then he saw Marcus and his face showed surprise. Marcus, what happened? Carlos, thank God, Marcus said. Can you tell this officer that I work here? That I'm not a criminal? Carlos looked at Officer Hollis. Sir, I can vouch for this young man. He's worked at the food court for months. He's never caused any problems. He's polite to customers. He shows up on time. I don't know what's happening here, but there must be some mistake. Officer Hollis's grip on Marcus's arm got tighter. There's no mistake. This individual was acting suspiciously, and when I tried to investigate, he became uncooperative and aggressive. That's a lie, Sandra Williams said loudly. Her phone was still recording. I have the entire interaction on video. This young man was never aggressive. He was calm and respectful. You escalated this situation from the beginning. Other voices joined in from the crowd. She's right. I saw the whole thing. The kid didn't do anything wrong. This is wrong. This is so wrong. A teenage boy in the crowd said to his friend, Man, this is messed up. He was just shopping. Officer Hollis looked around at all the faces, all the phones recording him. He spoke into his radio. This is Officer Hollis at Riverside Mall. I need backup at the electronics store. I have a situation here. Marcus's heart sank. More police officers were coming. What if they all believed Hollis's story? What if they all treated him like a criminal? His mind raced with fear. Sandra Williams called Marcus's mother. The phone rang 3 times before a woman's voice answered. Hello, Mrs. Johnson? My name is Sandra Williams. I'm an attorney. I'm at Riverside Mall with your son Marcus. He's okay, but there's a situation with a police officer. You might want to come down here. Marcus could hear his mother's voice through the phone, rising in panic. What happened? Is he hurt? What did he do? He didn't do anything, ma'am, Sandra said calmly. A police officer stopped him while he was shopping and is now detaining him without cause. I'm here and I'm recording everything, but you should come. I'm leaving right now, his mother said. Please don't let them hurt my baby, please. Sandra felt tears in her own eyes now. She was a mother too. Her daughter stood beside her, watching everything with wide, scared eyes. Sandra had brought her daughter to the mall for a fun day of shopping. Instead, they were witnessing something that would probably stay with her daughter forever. Officer Hollis pulled handcuffs from his belt. The metal caught the light from the store's bright ceiling. Marcus saw them and felt his whole body go cold. You're being detained for obstruction and disorderly conduct, Hollis said. What? Marcus's voice rose now. I didn't obstruct anything. I didn't do anything disorderly. I was shopping. The crowd's reaction was immediate and loud. This is crazy. You can't arrest him for shopping. This is America? This is freedom? An older white woman pushed to the front of the crowd. She was about 65 years old with silver hair. Her name was Margaret Sawyer, and she was a retired teacher. She had been shopping for a birthday gift for her granddaughter when she noticed the commotion. She had watched the entire interaction from the beginning. "Officer," Margaret said in a clear, strong voice, "I have been standing here watching since you first approached this young man. I saw everything. He was looking at laptops, just looking like any customer would. He did nothing suspicious. He showed you his receipt when you asked. He answered your questions politely. He has been respectful this entire time. You are the one who has been aggressive. You are the one who escalated this situation." Officer Hollis stared at her. He seemed surprised that this older white woman was speaking against him. Margaret continued, "I am a 65-year-old white woman. I was a teacher for 40 years. I have no criminal record. I vote in every election, and I am telling you that what you are doing right now is wrong. It is unjust. And if you put handcuffs on this boy for the crime of shopping while black, I will testify against you in any court in this land." The crowd burst into applause. Several people said yes, and thank you. Officer Hollis's face was bright red now. He looked angry and embarrassed at the same time. The handcuffs hung from his hand, but he had not put them on Marcus yet. Carlos, the security guard, spoke again. "Officer, please, let's all just calm down. Maybe we can talk about this without anyone getting arrested. This is a good kid. Trust me." But Officer Hollis was beyond reasoning now. His pride was hurt. All these people were challenging him. All these cameras were recording him. He felt like he was losing control of the situation. "Everyone step back," he shouted. "This is an active police situation. If you interfere, I will arrest you too." Sandra Williams did not step back. "I am not interfering. I am observing. And as an attorney, I am informing you that what you are doing is unlawful detention. This young man has committed no crime. You have no reasonable suspicion. You have no probable cause. If you arrest him, it will be a false arrest and you will be held accountable." Officer Hollis turned on her. "Are you threatening me?" "I am informing you of the law," Sandra said calmly. Marcus stood very still. The officer's hand was still on his arm. The handcuffs were still out. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. He thought about his mother driving to the mall right now, probably crying, probably scared. He thought about his father, who had tried to prepare him for moments like this. He thought about his little brother Devin, who was only 13. What would Devin think if his big brother got arrested? What would this do to him? A man in the crowd said he was calling the news stations. Another person said she was posting the videos online. The situation was spiraling beyond Officer Hollis's control, and everyone could feel it. Then a young white couple in the crowd did something unexpected. The man wearing a college sweatshirt walked up to Officer Hollis. "Sir, I'm a law student at State University," he said. "I've been recording this whole thing too, and I just want you to know that what you're doing violates the Fourth Amendment. You're conducting an unlawful search and seizure. This is exactly what we study in my constitutional law class. This is a textbook case of what not to do." His girlfriend added, "We'll both testify if this goes to court." "We saw everything." Officer Hollis looked around. Everywhere he turned, there were phones recording him. Everywhere he turned, there were witnesses speaking against him. The crowd had grown to about 30 people now. Some were mall employees who had heard about the commotion. Some were shoppers. Some were teenagers who had been hanging out at the mall. Marcus noticed something. The crowd was diverse. Black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian people, young and old. They were all on his side. They all saw the injustice happening. That gave him a tiny bit of hope. Brian Chen pulled out his own phone and made a call. Marcus heard him say, "Yes, we need someone from corporate security down here right away. And maybe you should call the police department's main office. This situation is getting out of control." "You are suspended effective immediately," Chief Morrison said. "I am placing you on administrative leave pending a full investigation. You will report to Internal Affairs on Monday morning at 8 a.m. Do you understand?" "Yes, Chief," Hollis said quietly. "I asked if you understand," Chief Morrison repeated. "Yes, Chief, I understand," Hollis said louder. "Good," Chief Morrison said. She looked past him. "Officer Bennett." Another police officer had arrived a few minutes earlier, responding to Hollis's call for backup. Officer Bennett was a younger man, maybe 30 years old. He looked confused about what he had walked into. "Yes, Chief," Bennett said. "Take Officer Hollis home," Chief Morrison said. He's off duty. Make sure he gets there safely. Bennett looked at Hollis, then at the chief. Yes, ma'am. Hollis walked away with Officer Bennett. He kept his head down. People in the crowd watched him go. Some people were still recording. Marcus watched him too. The officer who had scared him so badly just minutes ago now looked small and defeated. Chief Morrison addressed the crowd again. Thank you all for speaking up. Thank you for recording what you saw. In police work, we depend on witnesses to tell the truth. You all did that today. If any of you are willing to give statements about what you saw, please see Officer Bennett or contact the Riverside Police Department. Your testimony will be important for the investigation. Several people said they would give statements. Margaret Sawyer walked up to Chief Morrison and handed her a business card. That's my phone number. I will testify in any hearing or court case. What that officer did was wrong, and I won't stay silent about it. Thank you, ma'am, Chief Morrison said with respect. The chief turned to Carlos, the security guard. Is there a private office where we can go? I'd like to speak with Marcus for a few minutes before we go to the station. Yes, Chief. The mall management office is on the second floor. I can take you there. Thank you, Chief Morrison said. She looked at Marcus and Sandra. Let's go somewhere quiet where we can talk. As they walked through the mall, people stared. Some whispered. A few people came up to Marcus and said things like, good luck and stay strong. One teenage boy gave him a fist bump and said, that was brave, man. Marcus's phone rang. It was his mother. Sandra handed him his phone. Marcus? Baby, are you okay? I'm almost there.
Where are you?
Mom, I'm okay, Marcus said. His voice was tired. A police chief is here. She's helping me. We're going to the police station to make a statement, but I'm not in trouble. There's a lawyer here who's going to come with me. Her name is Mrs. Williams. Put her on the phone, his mother said. Marcus handed the phone to Sandra. She spoke calmly to Marcus's mother, explaining what had happened and assuring her that Marcus was safe. She gave Marcus's mother the address of the police station and told her she could meet them there. They reached the management office. Carlos unlocked the door and let them in. It was a simple office with a desk, some chairs, and filing cabinets. They all sat down. Chief Morrison looked at Marcus. How are you feeling? Marcus thought about that question. How was he feeling? Scared, angry, confused, tired, relieved, all of those things at once. I don't know, he said honestly. Chief Morrison nodded. That's understandable. What happened to you today was traumatic. It was also completely unacceptable. Officer Hollis had no right to treat you that way. No legal right and no moral right. Why did he do it? Marcus asked. I wasn't doing anything wrong, Chief Morrison sighed. I wish I had a good answer for you. The truth is, some police officers carry biases and prejudices. They see a young black man and they make assumptions. They forget that their job is to serve and protect everyone, not to harass innocent people. Has he done this before? Sandra asked. Chief Morrison looked uncomfortable. I can't discuss another officer's personnel file in detail, but I can tell you that this is not Officer Hollis's first complaint. There have been others. And he was still working? Sandra's voice was sharp now. Still on the streets with a gun and a badge? Police unions are powerful, Chief Morrison said. Previous complaints didn't have video evidence or this many witnesses. It was often one person's word against an officer's word, and in those situations the benefit of the doubt usually went to the officer. That's not right, Marcus said quietly. No, it's not. Chief Morrison agreed. But that changes today. With what happened here, with all this evidence, Officer Hollis will face real consequences. I promise you that. There was a knock on the door. Carlos opened it. Marcus's mother and father rushed in. Diane Johnson immediately hugged her son. Thomas Johnson looked at the police chief, then at Sandra Williams, trying to understand what was happening. Are you okay? Diane asked Marcus, holding his face in her hands. Did they hurt you? I'm okay, Mom, Marcus said. But he started crying again in his mother's arms. Thomas Johnson held his son tight. Diane Johnson kept touching Marcus's face, his shoulders, his arms, as if checking to make sure he was really okay. Marcus felt embarrassed crying in front of everyone, but he could not help it. The relief of seeing his parents, combined with everything that had just happened, overwhelmed him. Chief Morrison gave them a moment. Then she introduced herself properly. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I'm Patricia Morrison, Chief of the Riverside Police Department. I happened to be shopping at the mall when I came across the situation with your son and one of my officers. I want you to know that what happened to Marcus today was completely unacceptable. The officer involved has been suspended and there will be a full investigation. Thomas Johnson looked at her carefully. He knew who she was. 3 years ago, when Patricia Morrison was appointed as police chief, she had met with community leaders. Thomas had been at that meeting. She had talked about reforms and accountability. She had promised things would be different. Thomas had been skeptical. Many chiefs made promises. Few kept them. Chief Morrison, Thomas said. His voice was controlled but full of emotion. My son is 17 years old. He has never been in trouble. He works hard. He gets good grades. He's going to college, and today he was treated like a criminal for shopping. How does that happen? It happened because Officer Hollis profiled your son based on his race, Chief Morrison said directly. There's no other explanation. Marcus was doing nothing wrong. The officer saw a young black man looking at expensive electronics and made assumptions. It was racial profiling, plain and simple. The directness of her answer surprised Thomas a little. Most officials would dance around that word. They would say things like possible bias or we need to investigate. Chief Morrison just said it. What happens now? Diane asked. She still had her arm around Marcus. With your permission, I'd like Marcus to come to the station and make a formal statement, Chief Morrison said. Mrs. Williams has agreed to accompany him as his attorney. You're both welcome to come as well. Everything will be recorded and documented. This will be part of the official investigation into Officer Hollis's conduct, Sandra Williams added. I'll make sure Marcus's rights are protected throughout the entire process. This statement is important. It will be part of the official record. Thomas looked at Marcus. Do you feel up to doing this today? We can do it another day if you're too tired. Marcus wiped his eyes. I want to do it now. While everything is still fresh in my mind, I want to tell what happened. Are you sure? Diane asked. I'm sure, Mom. They all drove to the Riverside Police Department building in separate cars. Chief Morrison drove Marcus and Sandra. Thomas and Diane followed behind them in their own car. During the drive, Chief Morrison asked Marcus about his plans for college. She asked about his job. She treated him like a normal kid, not like a suspect or a victim. Marcus appreciated that. The police station was busy when they arrived. Officers walked around doing their work. Some looked curiously at Chief Morrison walking in with a teenage boy and a woman in a business suit. The chief took them to a conference room on the second floor. It had a long table, chairs, and a camera mounted in the corner. The camera will record everything, Chief Morrison explained. That's for your protection as much as ours. Is everyone comfortable with that? They all said yes. 2 people joined them in the room. One was a woman named Detective Lisa Park. She was in her 30s with short black hair. The other was a man named Sergeant James Williams. He was in his 40s and had a kind face. Both were from the Internal Affairs Department. Detective Park and Sergeant Williams will be conducting the investigation into Officer Hollis, Chief Morrison explained. They're going to ask you questions about what happened today. Answer honestly. Take your time. If you need a break, just say so. The interview lasted about 90 minutes. Marcus told his story from the beginning. He explained that he was shopping for a laptop for college. He described how Officer Hollis approached him and started asking questions. He explained how he showed his receipt and tried to be respectful. He talked about how scared he felt when the officer grabbed his arm. Detective Park asked detailed questions. When Officer Hollis first approached you, what exactly did he say? He asked what I was doing there, Marcus said. His tone wasn't friendly. It was suspicious, like he already thought I was doing something wrong. Did he identify himself as a police officer? He was in uniform, so I knew he was a police officer. But no, he didn't say, I'm Officer Hollis or anything like that. When he asked to see your receipt, did you comply? Yes, right away. I had the receipt in my bag. I handed it to him. What happened after you showed him the receipt? He looked at it for a long time. Then he gave it back to me, but he said I was still acting suspicious because I had been looking at the laptops for a while. He said I was casing them like planning to steal. Sergeant Williams asked, how did that make you feel? Marcus thought about it. Angry and scared. I've never stolen anything in my life. My parents raised me better than that. But also scared because I've seen videos online. I know what can happen when police officers think a black person is a criminal. When you asked if you were being detained, why did you ask that question? Detective Park asked. My dad taught me, Marcus said. He looked at his father. He told me that if a police officer stops me, I should be respectful, but I should know my rights. He said I should ask if I'm being detained or if I'm free to go. He said that if I'm not being detained, I have the right to leave. Thomas Johnson spoke up. I had that conversation with my son when he was 15 years old. The same conversation that millions of black parents have with their children. It's called the talk. We have to teach our kids how to survive encounters with police. There was a heavy silence in the room. Chief Morrison looked down at the table. The weight of that reality sat on everyone. Marcus, Sergeant Williams said gently, I know this is difficult, but can you describe the moment when Officer Hollis grabbed your arm? Marcus's voice got quieter. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was just my mom texting me about dinner, but Officer Hollis got really intense. He told me to show my hands. His hand went to his belt near his gun. I got really scared then. I took my phone out slowly and showed him it was just a text. He told me to give him my phone. I said no because I know he needs a warrant to search my phone. That's when he grabbed my arm and said I was being detained. Were you resisting in any way? No, sir. I didn't pull away. I didn't fight. I just stood there. I made sure everyone could see that I wasn't resisting. Sandra Williams added, I can confirm that. My video shows that Marcus remained completely calm and cooperative. He never made any aggressive moves. Detective Park made notes on her laptop. Mrs. Williams, can you send us a copy of your video? Already done, Sandra said. I emailed it to the address Chief Morrison gave me. Several other witnesses also recorded video. They said they would send their recordings too. The interview continued. They asked about the crowd, about what people said, about how Officer Hollis reacted. Marcus told them everything he could remember. His parents sat quietly, listening to their son describe one of the most frightening experiences of his young life. Finally, Detective Park said, I think we have everything we need for now. Marcus, you did very well. I know this wasn't easy. What happens next? Thomas asked. Chief Morrison answered. Detective Park and Sergeant Williams will complete their investigation. They'll interview Officer Hollis. They'll review all the video evidence. They'll talk to all the witnesses. Then they'll prepare a report with their findings and recommendations. How long will that take? Diane asked. We'll work as quickly as possible without cutting corners, Chief Morrison said. I'd estimate 2 to 3 weeks for a complete investigation. And then what? Thomas asked. What are the possible outcomes? If the investigation confirms what we already know from the videos, there will be disciplinary action, Chief Morrison said. That could range from additional suspension to termination. There could also be criminal charges, though that would be up to the district attorney's office. Sandra Williams spoke up. Chief Morrison, I have to ask. You mentioned earlier that Officer Hollis has had complaints before. How many complaints are we talking about? Chief Morrison looked uncomfortable. 3 complaints in the past 5 years. All involved young black men. All were incidents where the complainants felt they were stopped or questioned without good reason. And what happened with those complaints? Sandra asked. 1 was withdrawn by the complainant. 1 was investigated, but there wasn't enough evidence to prove misconduct. 1 resulted in counseling and additional training. In other words, Officer Hollis faced no real consequences, Sandra said. Her voice was sharp. Not significant consequences, no, Chief Morrison admitted. And that's part of the problem. The police union is very protective of officers. It's difficult to discipline officers even when there are complaints. But this case is different. We have multiple videos. We have multiple witnesses. We have an officer who was caught in the act. Thomas Johnson shook his head. So my son had to go through this traumatic experience because the system protected a bad cop. Other young men complained, but nothing happened. Now my son is another victim. I understand your anger, Chief Morrison said, and you're right. The system failed those other young men. It failed by allowing Officer Hollis to continue working without serious consequences. I can't change what happened in the past, but I can promise you that this time will be different. With this evidence, Officer Hollis will be held accountable. Marcus spoke quietly. What about the other officers? The ones who saw him do these things before and didn't say anything? Are they going to be investigated too? It was a smart question. Chief Morrison looked at him with respect. That's a fair question, Marcus. Part of this investigation will look at whether any supervisors should have caught this pattern earlier. If there was a failure of supervision, that will be addressed as well. They talked for another 30 minutes. Sandra Williams gave Chief Morrison her contact information and said she would be happy to help Marcus in any way he needed. She said that Marcus might have grounds for a civil lawsuit against Officer Hollis and the department. "I'm not looking for money," Marcus said. "I just don't want this to happen to anyone else." "I understand that," Sandra said gently. "But a lawsuit isn't just about money. It's also about forcing change. Sometimes the only way to make a police department change its policies is to hit them in the budget. That gets the attention of city officials and insurance companies." Thomas Johnson agreed. "We'll think about it. Right now, we just want to take our son home." Before they left, Chief Morrison asked to speak with Marcus privately for a moment. The others stepped outside the conference room. "Marcus," the chief said, "I want you to know something. What happened to you today was not your fault. You did everything right. You were polite. You knew your rights. You stayed calm even when you were scared. A lot of adults couldn't have handled that situation as well as you did." "Thank you," Marcus said. "But I keep thinking, what if you hadn't been there? What if you hadn't walked by right then? What would have happened to me?" Chief Morrison was quiet for a moment. "I don't know. And that's what bothers me. The system shouldn't depend on lucky timing. It shouldn't depend on a chief happening to walk by. It should work every time for every person. Will it ever work that way?" Marcus asked. "I hope so," Chief Morrison said. "People like you give me hope. You're going to college. You're going to learn and grow. Maybe someday you'll help change the system. We need good people to do that work." Marcus nodded. He was tired. He wanted to go home and hug his little brother and sleep in his own bed. But he appreciated what the chief was saying. They walked out of the conference room together. Marcus's parents were waiting in the hallway. Sandra Williams was talking on her phone. When she saw them, she ended her call. "Marcus, I just spoke with a colleague who specializes in civil rights cases," Sandra said. "He's very interested in your case. He'd like to meet with you and your family this week if possible. No pressure, but I think you should at least hear what he has to say." Thomas and Diane looked at each other. Then Thomas said, "Okay, we'll meet with him." They exchanged contact information. Then Sandra gave Marcus a hug. "You're a brave young man. I'm proud of you, and I'm going to make sure people know what happened today." "Thank you for helping me," Marcus said. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there." "That's what we do for each other," Sandra said. "We stand up. We speak out. We don't let injustice happen in silence." That night, Marcus sat in his room and tried to process everything that had happened. His little brother Devin kept coming in to check on him. Devin was 13 years old and looked up to Marcus. Now he looked scared. "Marcus, are the police going to come for you?" Devin asked. "No, Dev, I didn't do anything wrong. The police chief said so. But that cop tried to arrest you. I know. But he was wrong. He got in trouble for it." Devin sat on the edge of Marcus's bed. "I'm scared, Marcus. If they can do that to you, what about me? I'm just a kid." Marcus felt his heart break a little. His little brother should not have to be scared of police officers. No kid should. But he knew that many kids, especially black kids, grew up with that fear. "Listen to me, Dev," Marcus said. "You stay respectful. You stay calm. You remember everything Dad taught us. And you remember that most police officers are trying to do the right thing. It's just that some of them, like the one I met today, have bad ideas in their heads." "What kind of bad ideas?" "Ideas that make them think that black people are dangerous or bad just because of our skin color. It's called racism, Dev. It's real, and sometimes we have to deal with it." Devin looked down at his hands. "That's not fair. No, it's not fair. But we're going to keep fighting to make things better, okay?" "Okay." While Marcus talked with his brother, the videos from the mall were spreading across the internet. Someone had posted Sandra Williams's video on social media. It had been shared hundreds of times already. Then thousands. By morning, it would be tens of thousands. The video showed everything clearly. Marcus shopping peacefully. Officer Hollis approaching aggressively. Marcus staying calm. Hollis escalating. The crowd gathering. Chief Morrison arriving and removing Hollis's badge and gun right there in public. People commented on the video. Most comments were supportive of Marcus. "This is heartbreaking. He's just a kid shopping for college. Thank God that police chief showed up. This could have ended so much worse. This is America. This happens every day. We just don't usually get it on video. That cop should be in jail, not just suspended." Some comments were defensive of Officer Hollis. "We don't know the whole story. Police have a hard job. If he just cooperated, there wouldn't have been a problem." But those comments got challenged quickly by others who pointed out that Marcus did cooperate, did show his receipt, did stay calm. The video showed everything clearly. By Sunday morning, the story was on local news. Channel 7 ran a segment about it. They interviewed Sandra Williams, who told her side of the story. They reached out to Chief Morrison for comment. The chief released a statement. The Riverside Police Department is conducting a thorough investigation into the incident at Riverside Mall. The officer involved has been suspended, pending the outcome of that investigation. We take all complaints of misconduct seriously, especially when they involve potential racial profiling. The young man in this incident did nothing wrong, and he deserved better treatment. The statement was clear and direct. It did not defend Officer Hollis. It did not make excuses. Some people praised Chief Morrison for her honesty. Others said she was throwing one of her own officers under the bus. The police union released their own statement. Officer Derek Hollis is a dedicated public servant with 10 years of service. He was doing his job and following his training. We believe the decision to suspend him was rushed and politically motivated. We will fight to protect his rights and his career. That statement made many people angry. Following his training? His training says to harass innocent kids? Thomas Johnson read the news articles on his phone Sunday morning. Then he made some calls. Thomas was well connected in the community. He knew activists, religious leaders, and other organizers. By Sunday afternoon, they were planning a community meeting for Monday night. Marcus went to work at the food court on Monday. He was nervous about it. What would people say? How would they treat him? But he needed to work. His family needed the money, and he needed the money for college. When he walked into the food court, his coworkers gathered around him. They had all seen the videos. They all wanted to know if he was okay. His manager, a woman named Patricia, gave him a hug. "Take the day off if you need it," Patricia said. "We'll cover your shift." "I want to work," Marcus said. "I need to do something normal." Throughout his shift, customers came up to him. Some had seen the videos and recognized him. Most were supportive. "You handled that situation with so much grace, young man. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Keep your head up. You did nothing wrong." One older black man shook Marcus's hand and said, "You made us proud, son. You stood your ground with dignity." But some interactions were uncomfortable. A middle-aged white woman said, "You should have just done what the officer said. Then none of this would have happened." Marcus felt anger flash through him, but he stayed professional. "Ma'am, I did do what he said. I showed him my receipt. I answered his questions." "The video shows that?" "Well, I still think if young people showed more respect to authority." Marcus's co-worker stepped in. "Ma'am, your order is ready." She handed the woman her food and guided her away. After she left, the co-worker said to Marcus, "Don't let people like that get to you." She probably didn't even watch the video. On Monday night, Thomas and Diane took Marcus to the community meeting. It was held at the Mount Zion Baptist Church. Over 200 people came. The church was full. Some people had to stand in the back. Religious leaders spoke. Community activists spoke. Chief Morrison came and spoke. She told the crowd about the investigation and promised accountability. Some people in the crowd were skeptical. They had heard promises before. Then Thomas Johnson stood up and brought Marcus to the front. "This is my son Marcus. Many of you have seen the videos. You know what happened to him. Marcus is 17 years old. He's never been in trouble. He's going to college. And on Saturday he was treated like a criminal for shopping while black." The crowd murmured. Some people nodded sadly. "Marcus wants to say a few words," Thomas said. Marcus had not planned to speak, but now standing in front of all these people, he felt like he should say something. He took the microphone. "Hi, everyone. I'm Marcus." His voice was shaky at first. "I don't really know what to say. What happened to me on Saturday was scary. I thought I might die. I've seen the news. I know what happens sometimes when police officers think young black men are criminals. I was lucky. A police chief happened to walk by. Witnesses recorded everything. But I keep thinking about all the times when people aren't lucky, when there are no videos, when there are no witnesses. What happens then?" People in the crowd called out, "You're right. Speak the truth. That's what we're fighting against." Marcus continued, "I'm just one person. This happened to me, but it happens to people every day. I want it to stop. I don't know how to make it stop, but I want to be part of the solution. When I go to college, I'm going to study political science. Maybe I'll be a lawyer. Maybe I'll work in government. I don't know yet. but I want to help make things better." The crowd gave him a standing ovation. Marcus felt overwhelmed. He handed the microphone back to his father and sat down. His mother squeezed his hand. After the meeting, reporters wanted to interview Marcus. His parents decided to allow it. Marcus spoke to reporters from 3 local TV stations and 2 newspapers. He told his story clearly and calmly. He emphasized that he just wanted justice and change. The next morning, Marcus's story was on the news again. This time it was national news. CNN picked it up. So did other major networks. The video of a police chief removing an officer's badge in public was dramatic. It was rare. It got attention. Sandra Williams called the Johnson family. "There's a lot of media interest in Marcus's story. I can help manage that if you want. I can screen interview requests and make sure Marcus isn't overwhelmed." "That would be helpful," Diane said. "This is all happening so fast." "I know," Sandra said. "But Marcus's story is important. It's shining a light on a problem that many people try to ignore. I think he should tell it, but in a controlled way. On his terms." Marcus did a few more interviews that week. He was always thoughtful and articulate. He did not attack all police officers. He did not make it about revenge. He made it about justice and change. People noticed that. Many people commented on how mature and wise he seemed for 17. Meanwhile, the investigation continued. Detective Park and Sergeant Williams interviewed Officer Hollis. The interview did not go well for Hollis. At first, he stuck to his story. He said Marcus was acting suspicious. He said Marcus was uncooperative. He said he felt threatened. Then they showed him the videos. All of them. From multiple angles. The videos clearly contradicted his story. Officer Hollis, Detective Park said, "These videos show that Marcus Johnson was not acting suspicious. He was shopping. They show that he was cooperative. He showed you his receipt. He answered your questions. They show that he was not threatening. He remained calm throughout the entire interaction. Your statement is not consistent with the evidence." Hollis changed his story. He said he might have been mistaken about some details. He said the situation was stressful. He said Marcus's attitude seemed disrespectful, even if his words were polite. "So you're saying that his attitude justified grabbing his arm and attempting to arrest him?" Sergeant Williams asked. "I felt like he was challenging my authority," Hollis said, "by asking if he was being detained. That's a constitutional question. Citizens have the right to ask that." "I know that," Hollis said defensively, "but the way he said it was disrespectful." Detective Park looked at him. "Officer Hollis, the videos have audio. We can hear exactly how Marcus said it." His tone was calm and respectful. "Are you sure that's the story you want to stick with?" Hollis got quiet. His lawyer, provided by the police union, advised him not to answer any more questions without more preparation. The investigation also looked at Hollis's history. The 3 previous complaints were reviewed. Detective Park tracked down the young men who had filed those complaints. 2 of them agreed to be interviewed again. One young man, David Chen, was now 24 years old. He had been 19 when Officer Hollis stopped him outside a convenience store. "He asked me what I was doing in that neighborhood," David said. "Like I didn't belong there. I lived there. I showed him my ID with my address, but he still made me sit on the curb for 20 minutes while he ran my name. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just walking home from work." Another young man, Jamal Washington, was now 21. "I was 17 when it happened," Jamal said. "Same age as Marcus. Hollis stopped me in the park. Said I looked like someone he was looking for. I didn't look like anyone. I was just black. He searched my backpack without permission. He didn't find anything because I wasn't doing anything wrong. But it made me feel like a criminal. I filed a complaint, but nothing happened. The police union protected him. This information was added to the investigation report. It showed a pattern. Officer Hollis had a history of profiling young people of color. He had gotten away with it before, but not this time. 2 weeks after the mall incident, there was a hearing. It was held at the police department headquarters. The hearing was open to the public and the room was packed. Marcus and his family sat in the front row. Sandra Williams sat with them. So did the civil rights attorney she had introduced them to, a man named David Park. Margaret Sawyer, the retired teacher who had witnessed everything, sat nearby. So did Brian Chen from the electronics store. Carlos Rodriguez, the security guard, was there too. Many of the witnesses from the mall came. The hearing was led by a retired judge named William Harper. He had been brought in as a neutral party to review the evidence and make a recommendation. Officer Hollis sat at a table with his union lawyer. He looked different without his uniform. He wore a suit, but he looked uncomfortable in it. He kept his eyes down most of the time. The hearing lasted all day. Detective Park presented the findings from the investigation. The videos were played. Witnesses testified. Marcus testified about what happened and how it made him feel. "I felt like I was being judged guilty before I even did anything," Marcus said. "Officer Hollis looked at me and decided I was a criminal. Not because of anything I did, but because of how I looked." Officer Hollis's lawyer tried to defend him. He argued that police officers have to make quick decisions. He said that Hollis was just being cautious in an age when police officers face danger every day. He said that maybe Hollis made mistakes, but they were honest mistakes, not malicious ones. But the evidence was overwhelming. The videos showed everything. The witnesses all told the same story. The pattern of previous complaints showed this was not a one-time mistake. At the end of the day, Judge Harper said he would review everything and issue his decision in 48 hours. Those 2 days felt long for Marcus. He tried to focus on school and work, but his mind kept going back to the hearing. What if Judge Harper sided with Officer Hollis? What if the police union won? What if nothing changed? On Thursday afternoon, Judge Harper released his decision. It was 10 pages long, but the important part was on page 9. Based on the evidence presented, I find that Officer Derek Hollis engaged in racial profiling, unlawful detention, and dishonesty in his official capacity. The video evidence clearly contradicts his statements. The pattern of previous complaints suggests this was not an isolated incident. Therefore, I recommend that Officer Hollis be terminated from the Riverside Police Department immediately. When Thomas Johnson read Judge Harper's decision to his family, Marcus felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Officer Hollis was being fired. It was really happening. There would be consequences for what he did. Chief Morrison held a press conference that same afternoon. Reporters filled the room. Cameras flashed. The chief stood at a podium with the city's mayor beside her. Today, based on the findings of an independent hearing officer and a thorough internal investigation, I am accepting the recommendation to terminate Officer Derek Hollis from the Riverside Police Department, Chief Morrison said. His actions on the day in question were a clear violation of our department's policies and values. He engaged in racial profiling. He conducted an unlawful detention, and he made false statements about the incident. This behavior is unacceptable. The mayor spoke next. This was a difficult situation, but Chief Morrison handled it with integrity and transparency. We will not tolerate officers who abuse their power or treat any member of our community with anything less than respect and dignity. Reporters asked questions. One reporter asked if Officer Hollis would face criminal charges. "That is up to the district attorney's office," Chief Morrison said. "I have forwarded all the evidence to them. They will decide whether criminal charges are appropriate." Another reporter asked about the police union's reaction. "The union has indicated they will appeal this decision," Chief Morrison said. "That is their right. But I am confident that the evidence supports this termination. Officer Hollis violated the trust that the community placed in him, and he violated the standards that we hold all officers to." The police union did appeal. Their lawyer argued that Officer Hollis deserved another chance. He said that 10 years of service should count for something. He said that everyone makes mistakes, but legal experts said the union's chances of winning were very small. The video evidence was too clear. The witnesses were too credible. The pattern of behavior was too obvious. Marcus watched all of this unfold on the news and online. Part of him felt satisfied that there was accountability, but another part of him felt sad. Sad that it took all of this for one officer to face consequences. Sad that other young men had complained about the same officer and nothing had happened until now. "It shouldn't have taken a police chief happening to walk by," Marcus said to his father one evening. "It shouldn't have taken videos from 5 different people. It shouldn't have taken national news coverage. Justice shouldn't be this hard." Thomas nodded. "You're right. It shouldn't be. But this is the world we live in. The question is, what are we going to do about it?" Marcus thought about that question a lot over the next few weeks. What could he do? He was just one person. Just a 17-year-old kid who wanted to go to college and have a normal life. But people kept reaching out to him. Organizations fighting for police reform asked him to speak at events. Civil rights groups wanted to feature his story. A scholarship fund was established in his name to help other young people of color go to college. Sandra Williams and David Park, the civil rights attorney, met with the Johnson family again. They discussed the possibility of a civil lawsuit against Officer Hollis and the police department. "I want to be clear about what this would mean," David Park said. "A lawsuit is not quick or easy. It could take years. It would require you to relive this experience over and over again in depositions and court hearings. It would be stressful. Then why do it?" Marcus asked. "Because it forces change," David said. "When a police department has to pay a large settlement, city officials pay attention. Insurance companies pay attention. It creates pressure to change policies, improve training, and hold officers accountable. Your case is strong, Marcus. The evidence is clear. We could win, and that win could help protect other people in the future." Marcus looked at his parents. "What do you think?" Diane spoke first. "I think it's your decision, baby. This happened to you. You're the one who would have to go through the lawsuit process." Thomas added, "I'll support whatever you decide. But I will say this, your story has already helped people. It's made people think about these issues. A lawsuit could do even more good." Marcus took a few days to think about it. He talked to Sandra Williams, who explained more about what the process would be like. He talked to his guidance counselor at school. He even talked to Devin, his little brother. "I think you should do it," Devin said. "Because of you, maybe the police won't do this to me." That comment made Marcus's decision. "Okay," he told David Park. "Let's file the lawsuit." The lawsuit was filed 3 weeks after the mall incident. It named Officer Derek Hollis and the Riverside Police Department as defendants. It argued that Hollis violated Marcus's constitutional rights through racial profiling and unlawful detention. It argued that the police department had failed to properly discipline Hollis despite previous complaints, which created an environment where he felt free to continue his behavior. The lawsuit asked for monetary damages, but it also asked for something else. Policy changes, better training, a stronger system for investigating complaints, more accountability. The city's lawyers fought the lawsuit, but not very aggressively. The evidence was too strong. 6 months after the lawsuit was filed, the city offered a settlement. They would pay Marcus $250,000. More importantly, they would implement a series of reforms. All officers would go through enhanced training on implicit bias and constitutional policing. Body cameras would be mandatory for all officers at all times, with severe penalties for turning them off. The Civilian Oversight Board would be strengthened with more power to investigate complaints. And there would be an early warning system to identify officers with patterns of problematic behavior. Marcus and his family accepted the settlement. The money would pay for his college education and help his family. But Marcus was more excited about the policy changes. "This is what I wanted," Marcus said at a press conference announcing the settlement. "I didn't want this to happen to anyone else. These reforms won't fix everything, but they're a step in the right direction." Meanwhile, Officer Derek Hollis's appeal was denied. His termination was upheld. He tried to find work at other police departments in different cities, but his termination and the viral videos made that impossible. No department wanted to hire an officer with that kind of history. Hollis eventually moved to another state. Some reports said he was working in private security. Marcus heard about it and felt conflicted. Part of him was glad that Hollis could no longer be a police officer. But another part of him wondered if Hollis had learned anything, if he had any regrets, if he understood the harm he had caused. Marcus graduated from high school 2 months after the mall incident. He was valedictorian of his class. In his graduation speech, he talked about justice, resilience, and hope. He talked about turning painful experiences into motivation for change. He did not mention the mall incident directly, but everyone knew what he was talking about. Chief Morrison attended his graduation. She sat in the audience and clapped when Marcus walked across the stage to get his diploma. After the ceremony, she congratulated him. "I'm proud of you, Marcus," she said. "You handled a terrible situation with dignity and grace. You're going to do great things." "Thank you, Chief," Marcus said, "and thank you for being there that day. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't walked by." Chief Morrison's expression became serious. "I think about that too. And it bothers me that luck played such a big role in getting you justice. That's why the work continues. We have to build systems that work every time, not just when someone gets lucky. Are things getting better? Marcus asked slowly. Chief Morrison said, very slowly. But yes, I think so. Your case helped. The body camera policy is making a difference. Officers know they're being recorded now. That changes behavior. We still have officers who push back against the reforms, but we also have many good officers who support them. That summer, Marcus worked at the mall food court again, saving more money for college. Sometimes people recognized him. Most were kind. A few were not. But Marcus handled it all with the same maturity he had shown that day in the electronics store. Carlos, the security guard, checked on him regularly. How you doing, Marcus? Everything okay? I'm good, Carlos. Thanks for asking. You let me know if anyone gives you trouble. I will. In August, Marcus's family drove him to State University. They helped him move into his dorm room. His roommate was a kid from California named Ryan, who was studying engineering. Ryan knew about Marcus's story. Hey man, I just want to say I saw what happened to you, Ryan said. That was messed up. I'm glad that cop got fired. Thanks, Marcus said. I'm just trying to move forward now. I get it, Ryan said. But what you did was brave. Standing up like that. Marcus appreciated the support, but he also felt tired of being the kid from the video. He wanted to just be a college student. He wanted to go to classes, make friends, have a normal college experience. But he also knew that his story was part of who he was now. He could not separate himself from it. And he did not really want to. The experience, as painful as it was, had taught him important things. It had shown him the importance of standing up for what is right. It had shown him the power of witnesses and documentation. It had shown him that change is possible even if it is hard. Marcus studied political science as planned. He joined the campus chapter of the NAACP. He volunteered with organizations that worked on criminal justice reform. He spoke at a few events about his experience, though he tried not to let it take over his life. Sandra Williams stayed in touch. She became a mentor to Marcus, introducing him to other lawyers and professionals who could help guide his career. She encouraged him to consider law school after college. You have a gift for speaking truth clearly, Sandra told him. That's what good lawyers do. They tell their clients stories in a way that makes people listen and understand. In his second year of college, Marcus took a class on constitutional law. When they studied the Fourth Amendment and unlawful search and seizure, Marcus shared his story with the class. His professor asked him to give a presentation about his experience and what it taught him about civil rights. Marcus's presentation was powerful. He talked about the fear he felt that day. He talked about the importance of knowing your rights. He talked about the role of witnesses and how their willingness to speak up probably saved his life. He talked about the reforms that came from his case. One incident led to change, Marcus said to the class. Not because I wanted to be a hero or an activist. I just wanted to buy a laptop. But when injustice happens, we have a choice. We can stay silent or we can speak up. The people at that mall chose to speak up. They took out their phones. They recorded what they saw. They testified at the hearing. They made justice possible. His classmates gave him a standing ovation. Several came up to him after class to thank him for sharing his story. That same year, Chief Morrison invited Marcus to speak at the Riverside Police Academy. New recruits were going through training, and the chief wanted Marcus to talk to them about community relations and the impact of racial profiling. Marcus was nervous about it. Speaking to police officers who were just starting their careers felt important, but also intimidating. What if they were defensive? What if they did not want to hear from him? But Chief Morrison assured him, these young officers need to hear from you. They need to understand the real impact of their actions. They need to see you as a human being, not as a statistic or a suspect. Marcus agreed. He drove back to Riverside and went to the police academy. About 40 new recruits sat in a classroom, all in their uniforms. They looked young, maybe only a few years older than Marcus. They watched him carefully as he walked to the front of the room. My name is Marcus Johnson, he began. 2 years ago, when I was 17, I had an encounter with a police officer that changed my life. I want to tell you about it, not to make you feel bad, but to help you understand what it's like on the other side. He told them the story. He showed them the video. He explained how scared he felt, how powerless he felt, how he wondered if he was going to die that day. I did everything right, Marcus said. I was respectful. I cooperated. I knew my rights. And it still almost ended badly for me. The only reason it didn't is because a police chief happened to walk by and because people recorded what happened. He paused and looked at the young officers. You're about to go out into the community with a gun and a badge. You're going to have power over people's lives. That's a huge responsibility. I want you to remember my face. Remember my story. And remember that every person you interact with is someone's son or daughter, someone's brother or sister. We're not suspects. We're not threats. We're people. The room was completely silent. Some of the recruits looked uncomfortable. Some looked thoughtful. A few looked emotional. One recruit, a young black woman, raised her hand. Thank you for sharing that, Marcus. I became a police officer because I want to make things better. I want to be different from officers like the one who stopped you. But I'm worried. What if I make mistakes too? Marcus appreciated her honesty. You will make mistakes. Everyone does. But there's a difference between making an honest mistake and profiling someone based on their race. There's a difference between being cautious and being aggressive. The key is to check your assumptions. Ask yourself why you're stopping someone. Is it because of real suspicious behavior? Or is it because of how they look? Be honest with yourself. Another recruit, a white man, asked, how do we rebuild trust with communities that have been hurt by bad police officers? By being consistent, Marcus said. By treating everyone with respect. By holding each other accountable. When you see another officer doing something wrong, speak up. Don't protect bad cops just because they wear the same uniform. That's how you build trust. After his presentation, several recruits came up to thank him. The young black woman who had asked the first question shook his hand. I'm going to remember this, she said. Thank you. Chief Morrison walked Marcus out of the academy. That was excellent, Marcus. I think you reached them. I hope so, Marcus said. You know, Chief Morrison said, we could use people like you in law enforcement. Have you ever thought about becoming a police officer? Marcus laughed. After what happened to me? No, I don't think so. Fair enough, Chief Morrison said with a smile. But maybe a police attorney? Someone who works on policy and reform from the inside? Marcus thought about that. He had not considered that path before. Maybe. I still have a lot of school ahead of me before I decide. As Marcus drove back to college that day, he thought about how much his life had changed in 2 years. He had gone from a scared 17-year-old in a mall to a confident college student speaking to police recruits. The experience had been traumatic, but it had also shaped him in positive ways. He thought about Devin, his little brother, who was now 15. Devin looked at police officers differently now. He was more cautious, more aware. Marcus hated that his brother had lost some innocence because of what happened. But he was also glad that Devin knew his rights and knew how to protect himself. He thought about Officer Hollis sometimes. He wondered if Hollis ever thought about him. Did Hollis regret what he did? Did he understand that he was wrong? Or did he still think he was the victim in the story? Marcus would never know. Hollis had disappeared from public life. No interviews, no statements, no apologies. Maybe he was ashamed. Maybe he was angry. Maybe he had learned and changed. Or maybe he still believed he had done nothing wrong. In his 3rd year of college, Marcus took an internship with a civil rights organization. He worked on police accountability cases, helping attorneys research and prepare documentation. It was hard work, and it often meant reading about terrible things that had happened to people. But it was also meaningful work. One case involved a young man named Tyler who had been stopped by police while jogging in his own neighborhood. The police claimed he matched the description of a suspect, but the description was vague. Black male, medium height, wearing dark clothes. Tyler was held at gunpoint for 10 minutes before police realized they had the wrong person. No apology was given. Marcus helped prepare Tyler's case. He interviewed Tyler and helped him tell his story clearly. He gathered evidence and found similar cases that showed a pattern. When Tyler's case was settled, Tyler thanked Marcus. You get it, Tyler said. You've been through it. That means a lot. Marcus realized that his experience, as painful as it was, gave him a unique perspective. He could connect with people who had been through similar things. He could help them feel heard and understood. By his senior year, Marcus had decided to go to law school. He applied to several schools and was accepted to multiple programs. He chose a school that had a strong civil rights law program. He wanted to spend his career fighting for justice and accountability. At his college graduation, Marcus gave a speech as student body president. He talked about his journey from that day at the mall to standing on the graduation stage. He talked about turning pain into purpose. He talked about the importance of witnesses and community. 4 years ago, I was terrified in a mall, being treated like a criminal for shopping, Marcus said. Today, I'm graduating with honors and heading to law school. That transformation was possible because people stood up for me, because people used their phones to record the truth, because a police chief chose accountability over protecting a bad officer, because a community demanded justice, he continued. We all have moments in our lives when we see injustice happening. In those moments, we have a choice. We can look away or we can bear witness. We can stay silent or we can speak up. The people who stood up for me that day changed my life. They probably saved my life. I want to spend my life doing the same for others. The audience gave him a standing ovation. His parents cried with pride. Devin, now 17 himself, looked at his big brother with admiration. Sandra Williams was there smiling. So was Chief Morrison, who had continued to follow Marcus's journey. After graduation, before starting law school, Marcus returned to Riverside for the summer. He got a job as a youth counselor at a community center, working with teenagers. Many of them were young black and brown kids who had their own stories of police encounters. Marcus talked with them about their rights, about staying safe, about not letting fear or anger control them. One afternoon, a 14-year-old kid named Jamal asked Marcus, "Do you hate police officers now? After what happened to you?" Marcus thought carefully before answering. "No, I don't hate police officers. I hate injustice. I hate racism. I hate abuse of power. But I've met good police officers too. I've met officers who really do care about protecting people. The problem isn't police officers as a whole. The problem is when bad officers are protected instead of being held accountable. But how do you tell the difference?" Jamal asked. "When a cop stops you, how do you know if they're good or bad?" "You don't always know," Marcus said honestly. "That's why you follow the rules we've talked about. Be respectful. Know your rights. Don't give them an excuse. And if possible, make sure someone is recording. But Jamal, I want you to know something else. What happened to me was scary, but I survived. And because of it, there are new policies in place. Body cameras are mandatory now. There's better oversight. Things are slowly getting better." "Because of you," Jamal said. "Because of a lot of people," Marcus corrected. "Because of witnesses who spoke up. Because of a police chief who did the right thing. Because of lawyers who fought for justice. I was just one part of a bigger movement." In the fall, Marcus started law school. It was challenging, but he loved it. He loved learning about constitutional law, civil procedure, and evidence. He loved the intellectual challenge of legal arguments. But most of all, he loved thinking about how he could use law as a tool for change. During his first year of law school, Marcus wrote an article for the school's law journal. It was about racial profiling, unlawful detention, and the importance of civilian oversight of police. He used his own case as a central example, but he also researched dozens of other cases. The article was well received and was later published in a national civil rights law journal. The article caught the attention of several organizations working on police reform. Marcus was invited to speak at conferences and panel discussions. He became a voice for change, always emphasizing that reform was possible when people demanded it. 5 years after the mall incident, Marcus graduated from law school. He passed the bar exam on his first try. Several organizations offered him jobs, but he chose to work for a civil rights law firm that specialized in police accountability cases. On his first day of work, his boss gave him a case file. It was about a young woman who had been stopped while driving. The officer claimed she was speeding, but the woman had a dash camera that showed she was not. During the stop, the officer searched her car without permission. The woman, who was Latina, believed she was targeted because of her ethnicity. Marcus read the file carefully. He saw himself in this case. He saw the same pattern of profiling, the same abuse of power, the same lack of accountability, and he knew what he needed to do. "I'll take it," Marcus told his boss. As he started working on the case, Marcus thought about his journey. From a scared teenager in a mall to a lawyer fighting for justice. It had been a long road, full of pain and challenge, but it had also been worth it. He thought about Officer Hollis sometimes, but not with anger anymore. Mostly he felt sad that Hollis had never apologized, never acknowledged his wrongdoing, never tried to make amends. But Marcus had learned that he could not control other people's choices. He could only control his own, and Marcus chose to fight for justice. He chose to be a voice for people who felt voiceless. He chose to turn his painful experience into a purpose that could help others. 10 years after the mall incident, Marcus was a successful civil rights attorney. He had won several major cases against police departments, forcing reforms and securing compensation for victims. He had helped write model policies for police accountability. He had trained officers on constitutional policing. He had mentored young lawyers and activists. He was invited back to Riverside to speak at an event honoring community leaders. Chief Morrison, now retired, was also being honored. When Marcus saw her, they embraced like old friends. "Look at you," Chief Morrison said. "I'm so proud of what you've become." "I couldn't have done it without you," Marcus said. "You saved my life that day." "No," Chief Morrison said. "You saved your own life by staying calm and knowing your rights. I just made sure you got justice." During his speech at the event, Marcus talked about that day 10 years ago. "I was just a kid who wanted to buy a laptop," he said. "I never wanted to be an activist or a lawyer or a public figure. But injustice chose me, and I had to decide how to respond. I chose to fight back, not with anger or violence, but with truth and persistence and law. And that choice led me to where I am today." He continued, "That day at the mall was one of the worst days of my life, but it was also the beginning of my purpose. It showed me what I was meant to do. So in a strange way, I'm grateful for it. Not grateful for the trauma or the fear, but grateful for the clarity it gave me about what matters and what I needed to do with my life." After the speech, a young black teenager approached Marcus. The kid looked nervous but determined. "Mr. Johnson, can I talk to you for a minute?" "Of course," Marcus said. "What's your name?" "I'm Kevin, I'm 16. Something similar happened to me last month. A cop stopped me while I was walking home from school. He said I matched a description. I didn't do anything wrong, but I was scared. My mom saw your story online and told me to talk to you." Marcus listened as Kevin told his story. It sounded familiar. Too familiar. After 10 years of reform, these incidents still happened. Less frequently, maybe, but they still happened. "Did you file a complaint?" Marcus asked. "I didn't know I could," Kevin said. Marcus gave Kevin his business card. "Call me tomorrow. We'll talk about your options. And Kevin, what happened to you wasn't your fault. You deserve better." As Kevin walked away, Marcus felt the weight of the work still ahead. The fight was not over. Maybe it would never be over. But as long as there were people willing to stand up, willing to speak out, willing to fight for justice, there was hope. Marcus looked around the room at the community members gathered there. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, young and old. Police officers and activists. People who had been on different sides of issues but who all wanted the same thing. A community where everyone was treated with dignity and respect. Change was slow. Change was hard, but change was possible. Marcus had lived it, and he would spend the rest of his life fighting for it.